Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. No clipboard today because I want to talk about and give you a Serge swing update. As you know, I'm always working on my swing because heck, first off I have to hit shots here every day in the mat when I'm doing the dailies, and naturally at golf schools I do demonstrations and such, and I want to be hitting the ball correctly, making a good Serge setup and swing to demonstrate very good exactly what I'm talking about, because I believe I mean, if the instructor can't do it, why would you want to do it? And so over the years, I think without a doubt I've been probably one of the best, if not the best, Serge swinger, because pretty much my entire life I was 3/4 to begin with, and I definitely think as a 3/4 swinger you're very likely not to really overly make a big turn, or it's easy to control that way. So anyways, I don't hardly ever practice. I mean, the club I play at, I don't think I've hit a ball in a range in about 2 years at least. And even when I go play a lot of other golf courses with some of my friends, I'll just show up, putt around for a while, walk to the first tee, or before that I've done some stretching and swung a couple clubs together, stretch my back, you know, get down and stretch my legs, touch the ground, and do a couple other things, and really get loose and limber, loosen up my shoulders, and then make a couple really good practice swings, very likely with the driver, because that's what you're going to hit on the first tee most cases if the hole's anything but a par 3. And so I get going. So the key that I've been working on is always making sure that of technical excellence. That's a big word I use, TE, technical excellence. I'm always on DJ about that, and I think he's really focusing on that a lot now, and I try to get my members to focus on that, all my students, the Sergeites, because the setup determines the motion. So you cannot have correct motion until you have correct setup, because the setup basically is activating the muscles, and a correct setup activates the correct muscles, and now you have a chance of them moving correctly so you can make a good peak performance golf swing. And so the big issue I've had for the last couple of years is I've had sciatic issues, and I've been losing my posture and falling into the ball, and unfortunately those don't hit very good golf shots. They tend to hit them close to the hosel and hit them low right and everything else, and that's not good. So I've, number one, been really working very diligently on getting into good posture, and I think I did a video daily a while back where I talked about, you know, pushing the hips back a little bit. Now, I recently did a golf school where one of the students was actually practicing the thought of sitting on a bar stool. I say, no, if you're sitting on a bar stool, your legs are bending too much and your hips are folding or getting pulled inside, and if your hips get pulled inside under you, it pushes the knees out and it pulls the shoulders back, and that is not athletically ready setup. And so I said, if anything, if there's a bar stool behind you, you're kind of pushing it away a little bit. So the hips go out. You get a little curvature right at the base of your back where your belt sits. If you're just above your where your belt sits, well, it depends where you wear your belt, but if you're wearing it at or above your hips, it should be right about there. And your knees are flexed and your shoulders go down, the accordion effect to get in the ball. And you get in that posture, and your weight should be in your arches. Well, my weight's been tending to go that way, and the weight's going too far forward and causing these issues. With woods off the tee, I tend to be blocking them. So I'm really working on getting my strength back in my midsection, and especially to maintain my posture. So I'm getting in here and really making sure that my knees flex, my hips are out, and I'm staying still. Now, all of that led me to another issue. We want you in the peak performance setup to have preloaded heavy right. Now, part of that is because you're already here. And you know that if a pitcher gets on the mound and they bend down like this, there's that, what I call that sit or sink into the right leg. And that stretches the muscles from the back of the knee up to the end of the leg, and you can even feel it sometimes up through your all the way to your lower back. You can feel all that stretch in there. But the key is that sit or sink. Okay? Now, that's what I want to talk about for the rest of this daily. It's so important. I wrote it in my book, in my memo book here, and this was dated 4/1/12, and it states in my swing thoughts, load over and onto a flex right leg, and in parentheses I have, it slows down the swing, and it really does, and I'm going to talk about that too. I had some other notes in here about setup, which is that I'm making sure that that I am preloaded heavy right, and so, but let's just talk about this load into a flexed right leg or back leg, okay? And so that's critical, because I think I've been fighting with also swinging very fast, and the majority of the students that I see, from those who show up with the right leg straight in and the knee cocked in, like that was very much advocated by Ben Hogan, that was advocated by him to cut down his turn, cut down the length of his backswing, and keep his body more stable and still. And because initially he had a swing that came down about that long, and he tilted a little bit this way, and then he had to pull it back up, and he got stuck way back here, and the hands would flip over because he's hanging back, and that's where he had those big hooks, and he went to this, the foot straight and the knee in, and did that. But everybody that ever was around Hogan would tell you that he was extraordinarily supple and flexible. So he used that to restrict and constrict and control the length and the amount of turn and the length of his backswing. Well, most people do that. If you don't have his suppleness and flexibility, all that's going to do is immediately tighten you up. The leg is going and it's going to turn you into, make your turn go into a reverse tilt. Your leg straightens up, and what you got, your back leg is going up and forward. Leg and hip and body's going up and forward, and your forward one's breaking down more, moving and tilting you with all the weight on the forward side. That doesn't help. Then we got golfers who plain simply turn too much, and as you turn too much, if you turn your hips too much, as long as your leg stays attached to your hip, to your body in your hip socket here, and if you turn your shoulders and your hips too much, that's going to straighten your back leg, which causes the front one to go down in and inward, because for every action is an equal and opposite reaction, and God did not give human beings a dispensation to play by their own set of rules, meaning our bodies respond to the laws of physics. So, tennis players, they throw the tennis ball up, they go down, and they push up to go get it, to go hit it. The pitcher gets down a little bit, and he pushes off. And he's actually going up and pushing off a little bit. The golf swing needs to be the same. Pretty much anybody who overturns, overswings, has the weight in the wrong place to start with, there's a good probability that the majority of golfers today, their back leg tends to straighten. Especially if you're turning too much, it has to straighten when you pull your hip back too far. So many of us with the wide knees outward pressure, and I suffer from this also, is that when we keep the wide knees outward pressure, we keep the outward pressure so much and resist so much that in many cases there is a little bit of turn. And if you don't do enough to at least get yourself to the toe line and have that sink, the leg straightens up, and it'll actually, if you stay still, you're halfway decent, but in most cases it's going to push you a little bit forward if you don't turn enough and tilt you a little bit. But the key is that once you're here, you got to swing up, you got to speed your swing up to be able to try to hit the ball before you get too far ahead, which would have you very steep and hitting deep divots and chunks and all kinds of bad shots, even to the point where you could get up there and pull out of the shot and start thinning them and topping them. So I knew that I was having a problem with the legs staying too tight, not getting enough turn in my hips, and I started focusing on making sure that when I got in here, I sat into it, I could really feel it. I could feel the weight coming down to my back, to the back center, to inside center of my heel. I could feel it all the way to there. And remember what I say. In a good swing, I say we should swing up to the tee finish. Well, it's pretty hard to swing up to the tee finish if your leg's straight, your forward side's down, and now your right leg goes this way and you collapse and you move into the ball very likely. So we have to have the swing, so to speak, compressing, as I call it, sit or low, and compressing into the right leg. Feel that flexing slightly downward, so now if you're down, you can push up rather than the opposite way. Most golfers, their swing is up, down with the backside. It needs to be down, up, pushing up. And if you go down and you're pushing up, you talk about really helping yourself swing up to the tee finish and explode to the tee finish, where I always say that once you get here and I strike the ball, my whole right side from the foot all the way up to my shoulders and hands and arms are chasing me, my hands and club, to the finish, okay? So you work on that sitting into the right side, I've called it. And you should feel that leg flex down a little bit. It can't flex too much, because a little too much and your legs are going to collapse. It's only going down a little bit. The knee rotates a little bit, it stays over the foot, and you can feel it go down, and the compression is so little that even looking at a head, you barely see the head go down, but it's going to go down in place. It's not going to get pulled off the ball, and it's not going to get pushed forward or whatever. So just like loading a shot, skipping a rock on a lake, if you do skip a rock, you're going to see your leg's going to go down and compress. Same thing as hitting a forehand, or hitting a forehand in tennis, or a double forehand, whether they got the forward hand down or the backhand down. They do those. You can see them. They come in here and they get it and they hit it and they push off. So we want to sink a little so we can push off and swing it up. So we want to keep the knee flex, keep the weight in the arches, stay still. When you load that leg, you're going to get a little bit better hip turn because you're loading over and onto a flexed right knee. And from there, you'll be able to swing. You'll be pushing up so you can swing up. And with that, you'll be hitting a more solid straight, very likely longer, and shooting those lower scores. Well, that's it for the search today, talking about sinking onto the back leg so we can swing up better. All right, well, that's it, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.